So this holds true, especially for finances. So I find that sometimes people, what they do is they make a mistake for whatever reason. They invest in something, they lose their money, and next thing you know, they never want to do anything again. Then all of a sudden, their core value for risk, it's always very conservative, and they never do anything. And that's the worst thing that you can do, right? Sometimes you got to look at it. You lose money. Think of it as you paid for a lesson. Maybe you didn't have to pay for it, but you paid for it and move on. Okay? So another one. And this one here, something similar. Train your mind to see the good in every situation. Right? There's lots of stuff that happens that's bad. Look again for what can you learn from that. If it happens to someone you know, train yourself to look at that and say, okay, maybe that's, hopefully I that prevents me from ever doing that. If it happens to you, never make that same mistake twice. Right? All those things that just keep you kind of learning in terms of financial literacy. Okay, so just a few comments on the lesson. Okay, so this was on the multiple streams of income. So overall, done very well. I know you guys gave me some feedback last week that it was a little bit easier, right? People came up with some really good examples of the disruptions. Remember, we talked about disruptions, and people had some really good, examples of that. And you can see, looking back, how it was a disruption, right? You look at the cell phone, and you look at Netflix, or you look at Uber, and you can see now that it was a disruption. But what you want to do is train yourself to look for those that you think are going to be disruptions. Right? Because if you do that and then you make right financial decisions, that's how you can make a lot of money. Right? So it's not just looking back, it's more looking at the future. Some people had a little bit of problems differentiating between an MLM and an affiliate marketing, right? Because it is different. Multi-level marketing is where you're going out and you're building an organization under you. It's almost like a small business. Or affiliate marketing, it's really you marketing that business on your own, right? Two totally different things, but two ways to make money. And you know what? In the future, it's going to be more and more of that affiliate marketing that's going to be out there. Companies are going to rely on people like you and me to get the word out on new things, and you can make a lot of money. I got friends that's all they do is affiliate marketing, and they make, again, they don't make millions of dollars, right? But they make $10,000 on this thing a year, and they make another 5 on another one, and they make 7 on another one, and 20 on another one. You know what? It all adds up, and it's really the same people that they're marketing to, right? It's really their contact list. It's not as if you have to go out and do more work. Right? And one of the neatest things for me of that lesson is that question where, you ask is, what did you learn? Right? Where were you at the beginning of the class versus where were you at the end? And everybody moved, everybody that answered that question. Okay, some people didn't answer it, so hopefully they learned something, but maybe they'll go through the notes. I encourage them to go through the notes and see if they learned anything. But it's really neat because when you ask people what did they learn, everybody had different answers, which is good. Some people talked about the core values and the financial goals, which is great because that's the foundation. And for, like I said at the beginning, for some people, they may have never done that before. Other people talked about the John Deere assignment, right? Or picking stocks, right? Some good kind of tools. A lot of people talked about private investments because most people don't know about private investments like we talked about. And then people talked about real estate, right? And then there was people that talked about multiple streams of income. So I think we picked, people all over the map on what they learned. So hopefully that was good. And so think about it as you've learned some of the basics. Now, start learning. If you want to learn more about real estate, take another course, right? Join a group, It was interesting that the conference, those of you that went to the conference, you will notice that a lot of the subjects that they talked about all fit in any one of those categories, right? Real estate, but what was his name? Tom? Yeah, Tom went into more details about the Fort McMurray real estate, so it helps you understand more about that. There was another guy that talked about debt, right? Well, we took that up in level 1. There was another guy that talked about investments, right? So try to give you as much of a broad range, and that should cover most of the topics on financial literacy. Now it's up to you to kind of continue to learn in that area. Okay, so good. Thank you for your feedback on that. And just on the SALIS, because I know some people handed in their assignment on the SALIS, and again, when it asked about whether you were comfortable with the exit strategy, a lot of people said that I want the company to go public. So it was kind of interesting. So those of you that answered that, tell me a little bit why you wanted the company to go public. It's okay. It's not a trick question. I'm just interested because it wasn't really explained. So I just wanted to know. Because if it's a private company, right? Remember, there was three different things that can happen, right? A buyout, a dividend where it stays a private company, sorry. And then one was going public. And quite a few people said, I wish SALIS would go public because, I don't know, tell me. Why do you think? Why did you answer that? Whoever did.
So I did. I said for me it would be if it goes public because if it does good, of course the company is going to give dividend to the shareholders. But if it goes public, then you have more. You raise more money and you can have grow the company, make it bigger, do better things, like add more products or some more things.
Okay, but you already bought the stock. You already bought it as a private deal. Okay, so we're not talking about, you already bought it as a private deal. So, and you're on the right track. But I just want you to know that there's advantages and disadvantages to the company going public when it's private. Okay, when it's private and then it goes public, first of all, the advantages, I think you talked about, but one of the biggest advantages of it going public is that now you can sell the stock on the market, right? You can, get rid of your stock, right? So that's good, okay? The disadvantages, though, are that when a company goes public, it takes quite a process to go public. And a lot of money to go public. No, it's not the taxes. It's more around, for example, I think you need about 100 to 150 shareholders before you can go public. So if you don't have that, right? Like, for example, SALIS, they only have 85. So if they wanted to go public, they'd have to go get some more shareholders, right? And then it costs quite a bit of money legally to go through all the securities commission and things like that. So it becomes more bureaucratic and it costs money, right? The other advantage here is that because there's more regulation now, right? So there's going to be more financial reporting that's done, and that's good. But on the disadvantage side is that, think about it, when they go public, okay, they go out and get more money. What does that do to your share? It dilutes, right? Because now there's more shareholders, right? So if that company doesn't play it right, it really reduces your position in the company, okay? And I'm not saying that everyone that goes public. All I'm saying is that sometimes it's better for a company to stay small and private. Don't think that going public is the greatest idea. The worst advantage that I see of going public is that on the public markets, a lot of time markets go up and down based on perception. Okay, so remember in 2008 when the stock market crashed? Okay, every stock went down. It didn't matter how good it was. Now think about it. If you were in a private company, because your stock isn't being traded, you're not going to know, but your value didn't go down 30% overnight or 20% overnight. You know what I mean? So there's advantages and disadvantages. I just don't want you to think that everything is great because it goes public. Because there's really good companies that stay private. Think of small family companies. They stay private and they do very well. They just pay dividends. Right? So don't get into this trap of, okay, well, private deals, there's all this thing about, well, there's going to be fraud and stuff like that. It's not like that all the time, right? Okay. I just noticed that on the responses, so it was kind of interesting to kind of hear what you thought about it. But you're on the right track. But sometimes, like I said, people just think that going public is the best deal for a private company, and it could be, but it might not be. Especially if you're a current shareholder that bought shares really low, right? And the value was high, and now it goes public, and it can go down. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to do a little exercise. So now that you've taken, the course, you're at the end. You should have gained, quite a bit of knowledge around, what's a scam, what's legitimate. So we're going to go through these examples, and then after I'm going to ask you to vote on whether you think it's a scam, a legitimate deal, or just a legitimate but a poor investment. Sorry. Legitimate means it's good. Yeah. Okay. So it's a good deal, and then it's legitimate, which means it's good, but it's a poor investment. Right? Not everything that goes wrong is a fraud. Right? I've been in investments that didn't do very well. It had nothing to do with being a fraud. It was just not a good investment. Okay. So let's go through this. Equity Solar is a private U.S. company formed by an ex-NASA scientist. Okay, so a pretty smart person. She has developed a technology that uses a film coat on a solar cell. The coating helps capture solar energy and that it can be stored for future use. This new patent process is believed to change the way the industry develops solar cells. The technology can also be used in other applications for microprocessors. The company plans to market the product to large companies such as DuPont and Dow Chemical. One of the risks is in not knowing if there are similar or better technologies of this class out there. Another obstacle is getting through the bureaucratic red tape associated with large companies so they can see how the technology can work. The investment has a subscription agreement that went to the ASEC, the Alberta Security Exchange Commission. So it went through all the legal channels. Investors must be accredited, which means that they have to have a certain amount of income, and they must apply for a tax ID number if in the States. Minimum investment is $5,000 and shares are at 75 cents each. So now that you look at that, don't worry about the minimum investment because that's assuming that you have the money to do it. Who thinks that it's a scam? Let's put these over here. I'm going to give you just a minute to read it, and then we're going to vote. Okay. Who thinks it's a scam? Nobody. You do? Okay, one person. Okay, who thinks it's legitimate? 3 people? Okay.
Good deal.
Good deal? Okay. 4. Put your hands up again. Sorry, who thinks it's legitimate? Okay. So who thinks it's legitimate but not a good investment? Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. How many people didn't vote? Okay, you got to vote. So again, who thinks it's legitimate but not a good investment? Put up your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Let's go on to the next one. This will be interesting. Okay, a friend contacted you about a cryptocurrency opportunity. So we talked about cryptocurrencies last week. The company is called D9, and I don't want you to look it up on Google. Okay, you can do that after on your own and see this, because this is all real stuff. These are all real companies. Okay, D9 operates out of Brazil. You have to buy a package minimum investment of $3,500 US, and the company trades in Bitcoin, and then they pay you $170 a week for a total of $88.40 for the year. When you take away the investment, it works out to $5,300 profit, or 150% annually. This investment is not reviewed through any SEC as it is in Brazil, outside of North America. Who thinks it's a fraud? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, okay. Who thinks it's legitimate? 1. Okay. Who thinks it's legitimate but just not a good investment? Okay. And we have less people to vote all the time. No opinion? That's bad. Bad investment? Thank you for being the voter. Okay, the next one. A friend of a friend has presented you with an opportunity to buy into an online lottery. Why buy a lottery ticket when you can own a piece of the lottery? Players Lotto claims the best odds on the planet, 1 in 300,000 versus 1 in 8 to 10 million for Lotto Max or 649. The minimum investment is $25,000, which provides you with 1 share in the company. Players Lottery has plans for extensive internet marketing with promotion through affiliates, so they use affiliate marketing to get the word out. The investment has a subscription agreement that went through the BCSC, so the Securities Commission in BC. Investors must be accredited. Projected income is $8,000 for every share one has per draw. So $8,000 you make for each $25,000 that you put in. Okay, 1 a month lotteries gets you $8,000. If they sell out the tickets, there could be more draws. Therefore, another $8,000 per draw forever. Headquarters is in Malta, which is in Europe. Okay, who thinks it's a fraud? Who thinks it's a fraud? Nobody? Okay. Who thinks it's legitimate? 6. Okay. There's going to be a lot here. Who thinks it's legitimate but not a good investment? Yeah, less people are voting. Okay, let's move on. Number 4. Are we having fun yet?
Yeah. It's a nice game.
A nice game. I can see that a lot of you have your core values as very low risk. You don't even want to vote. No, it's free to vote, by the way, just so you know. And I'm not going to take away your certificate. Okay, Horizon HFX is a BC company that trades foreign currencies through traders in New York. The offering memorandum and subscription agreement went through the BCSC, so it went through the Securities Commission. The company claims to generate approximately 1% profit per week, which means 52% a year trading foreign currencies. The company has been around for over 3 years and shows an average return of over 50% per year on their promotional material and website. The minimum investment is $7,000, and two of your best friends originally invested in $7,000 each, and after 4 months of positive returns, invested $50,000 each. So after they saw how well it was doing, they put 50 grand in. They both showed you their weekly statement for the last several months, indicating the 1% profit per week. Okay, so who thinks this is a scam? Who thinks this is a scam? One person? Okay. Who thinks it's legitimate? Okay. And who thinks it's legitimate but not a good investment? Okay. Still have people not voting? Okay. ISSI is a company that has a major interest in mining, ISSI is a company that has major interest in a mining company out of Reno, Nevada. They produce gold and other metals from the purchase of an abandoned mine. They're currently not in production, but plan is to be in the next year. Minimum investment is $10,000 and claim to generate 3% a month when the mine is in production. So that's 36% a year, right? This is RRSP eligible. That means that you can use your RRSP money to buy this. And the subscription agreement went through the Alberta Security Exchange Commission. You attend the meeting where the investment is presented and are impressed with the quality of the individuals representing the company. In the upcoming week, you Google the names of the managing directors in the company and find no negative news stories with the individuals. You also do a check on the SEC websites in Canada and find no current or past charges, investigations with these men. Who thinks this is a fraud? One, two. Okay. Who thinks it's legitimate? Is that a pencil? And who thinks it's legitimate but not a good deal?
Can I move my vote over?
Okay. Via Oro is a company out of Ontario that has a unique business model. Instead of buying gold stocks through companies, an investor can purchase raw ore, have it processed, sent to a smelter, and paid out as a profit. The minimum investment is $15,000. The subscription went through the OSC, and one must be an accredited investor to subscribe. The expected profit is 1 to 2% a month, which is about 24% a year. You heard about this investment through a friend who also invested a month ago. You check the Better Business Bureau. Okay, that's another agency that people can check to see if it's legitimate. And the company were not registered with the organization. So that doesn't mean it's bad. It's just that they were not registered. The company has a plan to patent the business model so that it can be used with other industries like lumber, agriculture. So the whole idea of this is that instead of buying stocks, you're buying the actual raw product. And then they process it for you and they give you a return. Who thinks it's a scam? Anybody? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Legitimate? Legitimate, but not a good deal. Okay. We're almost there. Collectors Cafe out of New York is a private company with a great idea. Purchasing collectibles online is a multi-billion-dollar a year business, but with the onset of the internet, fraud is rampant, which means a lot. When you buy a collectible from someone online, how do you know that it's real? How do you know that you're buying that doll, that it's real, or that hockey card? Okay. Collectors Cafe has gone out and set up deals with major North American insurance companies who provided insurance policies for collectibles being sold on their website. Minimum investment is 10,000 US. Shares are at $1, and the company expects a buyout from a company like eBay or Christie's of London. So Christie's of London is an auction house where they sell paintings. Okay. So the way this works is that, you know, if you say that this bottle is a collectible, you put it on eBay, and then I go and I buy it, let's say for $5, and then we find out that it's a scam, that it's not, I lose out on my money. So what they do is they get an insurance companies that say, we've authenticated this bottle to say that it's real, not the value of the bottle, but this is real, so that when you buy it, you're buying a real bottle. Okay? Who thinks it's a scam? Is your hand up? Or are you waving at me? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay? Who thinks it's legitimate? Who thinks it's legitimate but not a good deal? Not a good investment?
I changed one mind.
Alejandro, I don't know.
He has a vote. I vote for him.
Why already voted?
They come from
First one,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it like that when you guys go shopping?
Oh,
My condolences. Okay, last one. Thank God. A friend tells you about a private oil deal in Oklahoma. Most people that want to invest in oil and gas companies buy stocks in the industry in the stock market. The way the deal works is that you invest $5,000 minimum in Armadillo, and the company looks for abandoned wells. So these are wells that they've just left. Yeah. And the reason they left them is that because of the price of oil at the time, it's not worth it to go after. Okay, but there's still oil in there. And some have oil in it. This is common in the oil industry. The company pumps the oil out of the ground and transports it to a refinery for processing. So very similar to the oil. Your funds are used to purchase oil at $20 a barrel, and then it sells at whatever the price of oil is. At the time, right now it's at $60 a barrel, the price of oil, US. But at the time, in November of 2008, it was as high as $125 a barrel. Okay, so is this who says that this is a scam? Scam? Or legitimate? Okay, legitimate but not a good deal. Thank God that was the last one. Pretty soon we get only one vote. Okay, interesting exercise. Do you want to know the answers?
yes.
Okay. So all of these are real companies, real situations, and some of them we actually looked at in this class. Equity Solar, it turned out to be legitimate, but the technology just didn't make it. Okay, they couldn't really get it to the point of commercializing it. Okay. D9. You guys are right on. This is a scam.
Oh, yeah.
So if you look up, you write this down, De Silva, Brazil, D9, you can find out about what happened there. De Silva is the name of the guy that. Okay. The next one was the Players Lottery. This one was legitimate, but not a good deal. Horizon Effects. Interesting. Who said it was a scam? There's only one person. I think you did, right? You said that. No? Who said it was a scam?
Yeah.
It was a scam.
Oh.
Don't you remember? This is the one that I talked about when we were looking at private deals, and we looked at the BCSC,
Yes.
GEM-LE.
Check this.
No, actually, it's the same information. Yeah, scam. That turned out to be a Ponzi scheme. Okay, ISSI, one of the biggest scams around.
Yes. Yeah. We get a lot of fraud calls.
Okay, Via Oral, one of the biggest scams around. Collector's Cafe.
That is investment,
Legitimate.
but is it good?
Yeah, well, if it's not a bad investment, it's a good investment. Yeah, so it's legitimate. Okay? And then Armadillo. Scam. You can look up Michelle Dunk.
I know, I get scummed down.
Did you?
Yeah, well, U.S. oil and gas is Vegas. U.S. oil and gas, yeah. Different from that.
So interesting, right? You guys did not bad.
Not good either.
This one, I mean, you guys were right on. This one, you were right on. This one, you were right on. This one, really bad. This one, really bad. This one,
Really bad.
This one, horrible. And this one, good. So just on Collector's Cafe, I just want, we actually talked about Collector's Cafe, just like we talked about Salis, for about 2 years, because it was a company that Prospero kind of promoted. So we just had a meeting of the shareholders on Friday night, and I'll tell you what happened, but here's just a quick video on it.
From the depths of the great financial crisis of the 21st century comes the first global lifestyle brand for collectibles, Collector's Cafe. Welcome to Collector's Cafe. Continuing with John Branco, and that's really great job, Branco. The revolutionary integrated social network and auction house serving the entire collectibles world. Until now, there hasn't been a place where collectors can connect with each other, collect the things they love, and protect themselves from fraud. Well, that's all about the same.
Quit touching it. You're playing it. Look at it.
Every purchase you make is guaranteed authentic and backed by the largest insurance companies in the world. Lloyd's of London, AIG, Liberty Mutual, and Chubb. So you know whatever you buy is the real deal. Hosted by TV legend Larry King and welcome to his wife Sean.
As I'm sure you know by now, my husband has been around.
Collector's Cafe is both a television show and internet experience. Larry and Sean will be your daily guides. This is an important moment. They take you on an unprecedented journey. I go back with Ali when he went to the Olympics and he signed these gloves, and he used those in the ring. Showcasing over 6,000 categories of collectibles from collectors all over the world. Look for celebrity collectors and special friends dropping by to visit Larry and Sean.
Melissa, thank you so much for letting us into your home for a Collector's Cafe. My absolute pleasure.
To share their personal collections.
I'm glad you guys wanted to check it out.
Collector's Cafe, where passion comes to life.
We'll introduce you to some of the world's most unique collections and collectors.
If you are a collector, then this is the show.
And website.
For you. Collector's Cafe, where passion comes to life at collectorscafe.com.
So that's Collector's Cafe. So that's kind of an interesting one because we started looking at it in 2015. So it's been 3 years now. And you kind of expect, okay, when is this thing going to get off the ground, right? But on Friday night, they just made an announcement that Collector's Cafe show is going to be, the History Channel has picked it up, right? So what it's going to do is going to bring a lot of eyeballs to the website, right? And people all over the world are really interested in collectibles, right? It's interesting, right? It's one of those semi-reality shows. It's not really a reality show, but it's like a documentary, and that's why the History Channel has picked it up. But it's an example of something that's private. You don't know where it's going to go. Shares were at $1. They're now selling at $6, and who knows where it could go, but they're hoping for a buyout, right? Specifically from the History Channel. Okay? Any questions on those? Okay.
Who's the two that went against it?
Who are the what?
The two people that went against
That went against what?
it. Like the collector's profit.
Actually,
No.
they actually were correct.
Yeah. Who are the
Oh,
two
yeah, I'm
people?
looking at the two, yeah.
Yeah. Who are the two people that wanted to invest in collectors? Oh, good. Yeah. The point of that exercise is that it doesn't always look as easy as it is.
Yeah.
Right? You got to look. You got to do your analysis. Some of it involves a bit of risk. And the things that look really legitimate can turn out to be frauds and vice versa. Right? Okay. So let's talk about, for the next 20 minutes, the top 10 things to learn from financial literacy level 2. Okay, so there's always these lists that you can look up on everything, right? How to be good this and that, and what to do to lose this and that. So here's the top 10 things to learn from financial literacy level 2. So continue to listen to the business news. Okay, and that's what we've been doing. Obviously, we didn't do it tonight here, but continue to do that because that's how your knowledge is going to increase. Like I was saying before, now that you've learned a lot of things, what's going to happen is every time you hear something on the news, you're going to go back to thinking about, whether it was level 1 or level 2, about this, about John Deere, about agricultural industry, about inflation, about trade, right? All the stuff that's going on with Trump, with trade. Continue to do that. Local is very important, obviously, because we're in the oil sand. Nationally, because it affects us, obviously, in world events, may affect you and your family in your situations. But more importantly, it gives you keys to opportunities. What should I be investing in? Okay? And of course, it increases your financial literacy. Number 2, I've talked about this lots of times. Who are you listening to? Listen to people who have what you want. All right? If you want to become an executive chef, you're not going to go ask someone that's working, let's say, at McDonald's. Okay? Nothing against McDonald's, but you're not going to learn how to be an executive chef by someone who makes burgers. Right? Get the information from the people that have what you want. Think and Grow Rich. We talked about that book. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Any Language. Tools of Titans, Tim Ferriss. The Magic of Thinking Big. And then multiple streams of income, right? When it comes to your friends, again, if someone is good in a specific field, you want to learn from them, right? Because you got a relationship with them, learn from them. But if they don't know anything about that, don't take their advice because they're probably going to steer you in the wrong way. Get to seminars, conferences, and take courses. That's how you're going to learn. That's how you're going to get to the next level. Next year, hopefully I'll see all your faces at the conference, right? And we can say, oh, remember last year, right? Pretty cheap, especially this year. Most people got in free to invest in yourself. Okay. Lesson number 3, have updated goals, both short, medium, and long term. Remember I said that less than 3% ever write their goals, and less than 1% rewrite them or review them. So that exercise that we did, or some of you I made you do it, redo it again, okay? When was the last time you looked at those? Okay, don't just leave them on in the book. Review them. Maybe after this course, you want to change some. Maybe you want to look at your core values and reevaluate that. right? Some people read them every day. Think as if you've already achieved those goals. Remember Napoleon Hill, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Reprogram your thinking from failure to success, right? From fear to hope, right? A lot of people have what's called, you ever hear about these dream boards? Ever heard of a dream board? Yeah. So some people make a board of all the things, their goals. They take their goals and they put them in pictures on a board. So if it's a car, exact color, exact model, if it's a house, if it's a vacation, whatever it is, right? Because again, picture is what? How much is it worth? How many words? At least 1,000, right? Right? And you start thinking about it, you see it every day, put it right where your goals are, and that's how people keep it in their forefront. A lot of people put it on the fridge because that's where they spend most of their time going to, right? Okay? But look at your goals. Don't just leave it as an exercise. Okay? That wasn't for me, that exercise. Even though I marked it, it was for you, not for me. Okay, this was an important one. Check your teachability index constantly. Right? What's your willingness to learn from others? Why is it important to learn from others? Because it's the quickest way to a goal. I don't want to go through all the mistakes on my own. I want to learn from your mistakes so that I don't have to do them, right? Don't we tell our children that too? Right? Don't do this, don't do that. Why? Because I've gone through it. So why don't we do that the same with financial? Right? Anticipate to be wowed. Okay? Remember that. You come to a class, hopefully you were excited to come tonight. Were you excited?
Yes.
Okay, tell your faces that. You're probably excited because we're going to be eating. But you should anticipate that you're going to learn something. Okay, when you meet with someone, anticipate that you're going to learn something from them. Right? Last week, I was just telling a few people, we were talking about private deals. Someone called me about a private deal. I mean, I was excited to hear about it. Right? Because you never know where that deal is going to go. But if you just think, oh, here's another thing. Oh, well, here's another scam. Forget it. Your mind's not even there. You're not even open. Right? Teachability index. Willingness to learn from others, and then willingness to accept change. Now that you know that, are you willing to take the time, spend the money, right? Invest to get that. Okay, a lot of people don't, right? And it's great. You guys have been here, what, 2 months? It's gone by pretty fast, right? You've invested 2 months of your evenings. That's good. You've given up something, right? Because I'm sure most of us would have had something else to do tonight, right? Check your teachability index. Okay? Start a home-based business. Okay? So after we talked about multiple streams of income, I hope you understand the importance of having a home-based business, even if it's really small. Why? It adds another stream of income. But just as important, it has tax benefits. It gives you great income potential without all the overhead of having a store or staff and all that. Remember, focus on making a small amount of money many times versus a lot of money one time. Remember I talked about my vending business? Remember? 60 cents per sticker. That was exciting to me. Right? Banks get excited when they charge you $2 or $5 for fees. You know why?
Small amount.
Small amount, but they have millions of customers. That's why they make $1 billion a quarter. Right? Focus on making a small amount of money many times, because if you do it once, you can do it again. Versus trying to make, everybody wants to buy a stock that's going to go from $1 to $1,000. and they never do it. Right? Very lucky if you do that. If you don't have a home-based business, you're leaving hundreds of dollars on the table to the tax man, because you're going to write off you were going to incur those expenses anyway, right? Good example is what we talked about a couple of weeks ago. You know, you're going to go to Colombia anyway, right? You're going to go to India at some point in time anyway. You might as well write off the trip if you had a business that you can do business in those countries and it's legitimate. Okay, we don't get a lot of opportunities, the average person, to get tax breaks. So you got to take them when you can. Okay, invest in yourself. All right, remember Warren Buffett. The best investment you can make is investing in yourself. Again, take a course, attend a seminar. Have you guys ever heard of udemy.com? Okay, you should write that down or have it there. But there you can actually there's hundreds of online courses from everything from how to market your small business to cooking to building kites to whatever. Sorry? Sorry, udemy.com. Okay. So when you take a course, you can actually write off that course if you have a small business that you're going to do that for. Okay? But there's hundreds of courses, and there's people now that all they do is develop courses and sell them on this website. But you can go on there and look at about almost anything that you want. Engage in creative activities. So that develops certain areas of your brain and how to think differently. Right? A lot of people just think always the same way. Right? So a good example is the engineers in the room, right? Take a painting course. It challenges you, right? Because we're trained to think a certain way. I'm an accountant. I'm trained to think numbers, black and white, right? Do something totally opposite of what you like to do or what you've been trained, because it forces your other side of your brain, and you'd be amazed at how creative you can be, right? Spend money on experiences rather than stuff. Right? This is a good example, again, for your kids, right? It's far better to spend time, go on a vacation with them to a special place that creates memories rather than giving them money so they can buy a more expensive one of these, right? Create memories. Travel as often as you can, including internationally. That's the biggest life lesson that you can give your children or yourself. Go to another country that you've never been to, one that you probably never thought you'd go to. Learn new cultures, different types of food, widens your perspective, and while you're there, look for business opportunities. Right? A lot of things occur when you're open to new ideas, and then you think, okay, how can I translate that into a small business? How can I translate it into a multiple stream of income? But if you always stay in your same place and you never get out, you're never ever going to experience that opportunity, right? So invest in yourself. This was an interesting quote. Spend at least 3% of your income on personal development. Most people don't do that. Okay, number 7, engage in active networking. I talked a little bit about this last week. Okay, what is networking? Exchange of information and ideas among individuals or groups that share a common interest. And it can be for social or business purposes. It can be personal or online. I prefer personal, but there's a lot of groups that get together online, and that's okay. You can learn from stuff from people all over the world, but do a bit of both. Don't think that, okay, I'm just going to stay inside my apartment and I'm going to learn all this stuff. You got to do a bit of both, because when you do the personal stuff, it helps you develop social skills, right? How to deal with people, right? One of our books is How to Win Friends and Influence People. One of the best books ever written, because you need business skills. Remember, that's the first book or training course that Warren Buffett took, because he knew that if he was going to be successful, he had to deal with people. Okay? Business connections may form due to an individual's education, employer, industry, or colleagues. So it all starts with having common interests. So a good example is our financial literacy networking group. It's all people that have an interest in financial literacy and that have come from this course, right? They have social groups for people that love real estate. They have social groups for the engineers, for the accountants, for the HR people, right? Get into that. Your own religious groups, right? Learn, right? Get out. And now there's so many networking platforms. I talked about this last week. Who's on LinkedIn? Okay, a few of you. Okay, all of you should be on LinkedIn. And I'm on there, and you can connect with me, and I'll connect with you, so we can stay in touch all the time. So LinkedIn is really like Facebook, but for business and professional. Right? So I always tell people, if you're going to spend time on Facebook, spend equal amount of time on LinkedIn, because some of the content may be more beneficial for you and your family longer term. Okay? Yeah. It's more advantageous to learn about improving yourself than which restaurant some guy went to last week and complained about the onion soup. Okay? I talked about this enough. NCA Financial Literacy Group. If there's an interest that you have, start a group. Right? There's meetup groups. Meetup groups all over the place, all over the world, on any topic you want. There's people between 20 and 30. There's women between whatever. There's men between this, that like this. People that like traveling. Right? Whatever an interest is, you can set up a group or join one. And this is always one of my favorite quotes. Your network will determine your net worth. Right? And it's so true, because when your network is large and you get to learn from other people, and then they tell you about real estate deals or they tell you about a private deal, right? You don't know about private deals until someone tells you about it. But if you don't hang around with those type of people, you're never going to hear about it. So you're never going to hear about Collector's Cafe. All you're going to hear about is in the news about all the frauds which scare you about doing everything. Right? You're not going to learn about and hear about the good ones. But engage in active networking. Okay, this is my next soapbox. Develop strong habits. Remember we talked about that unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious competence, right? How people learn, right? Tying your shoe, riding a bike. That's the process you go through. So then select habits that will make a positive impact on your life. And then do those for 30 days straight, even if it kills you. Do them 30 days straight, and they will become a habit. And then you just continue doing them. That's really good for people that, for physical stuff or reading your lists, whatever. And the opposite is true for bad habits if you want to eliminate it. Don't do it for 30 days, and chances are you're going to have it done. Okay? This one here, continuing developing strong habits. Read, rest. Okay, so reading we talked about. Read at least 15 to 20 minutes a day. Find the time to do it, and then go back and read the good books. Go through your notes here. Rest. You need to get rest. People don't realize that if you don't get rest, you can't function. And more people, they think they can get away with less sleep. But the average person needs 8 7 to 8 hours of sleep at night. Very important. Exercise, fit body, fit brain. A lot of people tend to leave that aside because they don't have time for it. You got to make time for it. Balanced diet. I'm not going to talk to you about that because you all know, especially when you go to your plate. Make sure you eat balanced food. We talked about this. Set up the day for success with a morning routine. Right? Do the same thing over and over again. Get up, do some exercise, pray or meditate, read your goals. Do that for 30 days. Change your life. This one, they're talking more and more about this, is disconnect from this thing. Most people go to sleep with this, and then the moment they wake up, they're checking their messages. Thank you. That wasn't me, by the way. Right? Try to disconnect from this thing. Right? Like I said, you can waste a lot of time on some of those social networks that don't give you any advantage. I'm not saying totally eliminate it, but guard it. Or if you're going to do that, do equal amount in something that's more positive. Okay. Number 9, we talked about this a lot. Apply the information you already know. It's the application of knowledge that brings results. Without action, it's as if you didn't have it to begin with. Right? So hopefully you learned a lot of things during the course. But if you don't apply any of it, it was like a nice course. I talked about this. Safety incidents show knowledge, but no action. So whenever they did a study on why certain accidents happen, they realized that people knew about the procedure or the process, they just didn't follow it. So it's all up here, but you're not doing it. This was an interesting quote. The curse of much knowledge is indecision. I know a lot of people like that. I got friends that way. They analyze everything to death where they never make a decision. Right? Just like with that, they have so much information that they never do anything. It's like, how do you live? Like, how do you buy something at the grocery store? Right? Because everything is about analyzing everything. Paralysis by analysis. Perfection is not the key. Moderately okay is. Let go of your childhood stories. Right? This is, oh man, when I was a kid, my dad did this and he lost his job and da-da-da. And I know of a guy that did this and everything is, everything's terrible, right? Go back to the quote we learned at the beginning. Try to find the good in every situation. Learn from it. Set a time limit and then decide. Get it off your plate. A lot of people do this. I know I do this sometimes too, right? I look at something and I go, I got to decide on this, but then I'll say, I'll do it later on. And guess what happens? It doesn't get done. Rather than look at it, make a decision, move on, right? That's what you're going to get when you get some of those deals, real estate deals, private deals. You only have a certain amount of time to make a deal, right? You don't have forever. And people, they sometimes use that as an excuse. Oh yeah, we'll just put it off. Well, guess what? It's not there anymore. Okay? Reread the manual, refer to the material often, use your assignments as a guide, right? Those lesson notes are built so that you can go through them. And if you're investing, whether it's a private company or a public company, use the same format. Okay. Last one. Alignment with your partner for success is imperative. So there's advantages and disadvantages of working on financial literacy with a partner. So the advantages are, obviously, 2 brains are better than 1. Always. More household income, especially if both are working. All right, if you think about it, you have a lot more disposable income to do a lot of those things. You now have financial knowledge. right? You've learned a lot of things over the last couple of months. If both of you are learning those things, imagine how much more you know together. And you can teach the other partner. Okay, now there's disadvantages. Is that you need to be aligned on your core values and goals, right? If you're single, it's not an issue, right? Your core values are your core values. Your goals are your goals. But if you're with someone, now you have to do your core goals, core values and goals together. Make sure you're going in the same direction, because if you're not, no one's going to achieve anything. Maybe at different levels of financial knowledge. So that's one of the points about this, right? We usually get a lot more women that come to this course than men, because men know everything, right? Right? Don't they? Yeah. Don't your husbands all know everything?
Yeah.
That's why they sent you, right?
They think they know it.
That's the difference. They think they know it, right? And that could be a problem, right? Yeah, just me, you, and Alejandro. No, I'm serious about it. You need to make sure that, either you get your partner, your husband out to these things so that they can get at least some understanding that you have. Because a lot of people think they know, but they don't know. Okay? Any questions on those? That's sort of my summary for level 2 in terms of lessons. Okay, we're going to take a quick 10-minute break, and then we're going to get into our graduation and then eating. Okay. By the way, pick up your assignments. They're right here. I don't want to take these home.